going on, dudes and dudettes? So yes, the Anaheim Ducks were projected to get a high pick once again in the NHL draft lottery, but once again they end up going and getting the number 3 overall pick, which is always good for some people. But when it comes to hockey, if you don't get that first overall pick, you kind of don't get that, you know, game-changing type of player to help out your organization. So yeah, it always sucks. They've always been the runner-up. And they pick some talented guys here and there, but also seen a couple of them get traded pretty recently too, so they have not always selected the best guy that they probably should have. But now, once again, we'll see where this goes from here. Of course, it had to be one of the, I think they're a divisional team, the San Jose Sharks, so hopefully they don't end up getting some type of, best player overall or some type of generational type of guy, so we will see. And then, yes, I think it was 247 was talking about Cooper Flagg, the incoming top freshman for Duke, saying that he's pretty much the surest thing, not only for Duke basketball this year, but also beyond. So obviously mentioning the NBA draft in 2025, which is obviously pretty crazy. I don't think Duke has really had that guy. They've had players that made up and became that number one player, kind of like a Kyrie Irving when he got drafted number 1 by Cleveland. Same thing with Paolo. They always thought Jabari Smith was going to go higher, but it ended up being Paolo going number 1. So, yeah, it's kind of weird having the number 1 guy to most likely go number 1 back-to-back once he was in high school and the NBA draft. But hoping everything goes well. And, yeah, they did do a final rankings of the teams in that 2024 class. And obviously, Cooper Flagg is number 1. I believe that number 4 is that center Kaman Maluwach. Number 13, Isaiah Evans, a small forward. Another small forward or guard is at number 17, Con Canupel. Number 19, Patrick Mbongo, I believe is the power forward. And another shooting guard at number 37 was Darren Harris. He's the only four-star out of those guys. But yeah, overall, I'm still pretty excited for his career because I think he's the one that could jump up to that status of being one of those greater shooting guards in Duke's history, because they always seem to end up leaving early, kind of like a Gary Trent Jr. of recent memory, where you kind of hoped he would have stayed, and it just seemed like he was already going to be built to go into the NBA, and obviously a couple big contracts later it proved that he was ready to go and play with the pros right away. But either way, this looks like a pretty good thing for Duke basketball, so hoping out for the best. But yeah, definitely looking forward to the season coming in the fall. And a 2025 3-star cornerback / athlete, kind of also plays basketball and other sports too, but his name is Caleb Lanier. He did commit to Duke football over the weekend or pretty recently, so that was cool to see. It's obvious that he's a very talented athletic freak, so hopefully they'll be able to find a spot for him, whether it's on offense or defense. But yes, I don't mind these 3-star diamonds in the rough, especially these athletes that can play both sides, because they could eventually help you out either way, no matter what. So yeah, it's pretty good for the Duke football team. And then when it came to Jason Tatum, they did put out some stats that he has the most points in the NBA in the last 5 seasons, which is like 11,354 in that span, and I think he's averaging like 26 points or 27. That's like 7th best during that span, and it's pretty crazy that he is kind of always consistently on the better team in the East with Boston Celtics, and kind of never really gets any love, especially like this last MVP voting. He did not get any number 1 like first place votes or even finish in the top 3 either. But I don't know, I guess you're always on the best team, you are the best player, but they just don't see him as, godly as stats as the other guys who do some good stuff like a Shai Gilgeous or Nikola Jokic as well, who did win the MVP of this last season. So congrats to him. I believe that's his 3rd in like 4 seasons, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, overall, I still think Tatum has hopefully an MVP in his history, and not, a championship, especially against the Lakers. Hoping that does not happen. And then, yeah, I think it was Paolo Banchero, and I was getting a little bit ahead of myself. They had some pretty nice stats for him after his first 2 seasons in the NBA. I believe he is the youngest player to lead his team in points, rebounds, and assists in those first 2 seasons. He's the third number 1 pick overall to average 20 points, 5 assists, and 5 rebounds in the first 2 seasons, and the last one of last 4 NBA players with 3,000 plus points, 1,000 plus rebounds, and 700 something plus assists in the first 2 seasons as well. I believe that was Luka, LeBron James, and the other ex-Duke guy, Grant Hill, did that in their first 2 seasons. So it's pretty obvious that he is very talented, and I think it's more obvious that he gets these stats because of not really how good his team is around him. They do have a lot of young talent, but a lot of it did not show up, especially in these last playoffs. So kind of hoping that they take that next year step forward along with him, or they might end up getting traded and getting some more veterans in there for him, because Paolo Banchero is already on that ascension up into the NBA ranks. So hoping that he does have a great career moving forward. But yeah, congrats to that guy. And then we've always talked about Grayson Allen being pretty much the NBA leader in 3-point field goal percentage, but I believe at the end of this last NBA season, it was not only him leading the league, but also at number 2, it was another ex-Duke player in Luke Kennard as well. So that's obviously pretty cool that you have 2 ex-Duke guys leading a major top NBA category, especially on the offensive side. But like I always say, for some reason I can never get these 2 guys on my team, even though I've always wanted them to. But either way, they're having some fantastic last couple of seasons. And number 9, Duke baseball beat number 6 East Carolina the other day 5-2. I didn't even know that Duke baseball was ranked in the top 10. Kind of like I was surprised that the Duke softball team was ranked top 5 as well. So yeah, they're doing some nice stuff out there in other sports other than basketball and football for Duke. So that's pretty cool. USC, listen up, because I know you got the baseball and basketball team, but you need that softball team as well, please, so my niece can go play for you and I get some free tickets to get on campus, please. But yes, overall, congrats to those guys. And a couple of ex-Duke guys that were in the transfer portal have finally selected places to go, but I will still be involved in having to see them, because Sean Stewart, that freshman, is transferring to Ohio State, who obviously USC will be playing. And then TJ Power is transferring to Virginia, who Duke will most likely play at least once this season coming up in the ACC. So we'll see where it goes, but yes, hoping we get a couple of wins against those ex-Duke players. And Jim Nagy, who runs the Reese's Senior Bowl, did say that the Chargers, I believe, were the one team that drafted more of the players from out of that who were invited to the Senior Bowl. I believe it was Ladd McConkey, that wide receiver, Justin Eboigbe, the defensive lineman from Alabama, Kamani Vidal, the running back, also Cam Hart, the cornerback from Notre Dame, and then the wide receiver, obviously, Brandon Rice from USC. So I know the Chargers have selected some guys from that Senior Bowl, and they have done pretty well, but sometimes they have not done well either. So hopefully this is a turn, and pretty much every guy they get from that bowl game is really good and very helpful towards their NFL future. So hoping that is what is going to happen. And then yes, the Lakers power forward Christian Wood did exercise and pick up his player option for this season coming up. I guess he just didn't think he would get a nice contract heading into the offseason and just decided to get $3 million here with the Lakers. But it's kind of weird that he would pick it up right now, because it kind of feels like the Lakers can now use him in a trade and say this guy is worth about $3 million too. So I don't know how that really works out in his favor, but it does work out for the Lakers, so I'm happy about that. And I don't know why I forgot to mention the other week or so ago that one of my ex-favorite players in the WNBA and in college was Candace Parker. And I believe she announced her retirement, but I guess just the other day she did announce that she's going to be the president of basketball for Adidas, which sounds pretty cool. So we'll see what type of athlete she ends up signing on that label and doing all those ads and stuff. So that's going to be pretty cool for her. I only pretty much got into women's basketball because I thought she looked pretty cute at University of Tennessee, and just kind of followed her throughout that run, and they won a championship. That was pretty cool to see in the late 2000s, and then she ended up getting drafted by the LA Sparks as well, and I believe she won a championship there with Chicago, where she's from as well, and then I think also recently with the Las Vegas Aces. So yeah, multiple time champion in the WNBA, multiple gold winner in the Olympics as well. And I'm pretty sure she won MVPs and defensive players as well, like players of the year awards. So yeah, very historic career while playing, but I think it's going to be pretty good as well for her career after, because it was already going well for Turner Sports, and she was working some of the inside the NBA, working with those guys and doing like that Tuesday where they have some of the lesser good games, but she was still working that, so she was still a pretty good analyst there as well. I'm a little biased because, like I said, always had a little crush on her, but yes, thank you very much for an awesome historic career, and looking forward to seeing what you do in your next venture. And to end off with some miscellaneous news, yes, I believe it was last weekend, like May the 4th and May the 5th, all that stuff, and they brought back for the 25-year anniversary episode 1 of Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, back in theaters, which is pretty cool. It's kind of weird that the past 2 times I've been to the theater is to see movies that have a 25-year anniversary. It was The Mummy, last time was Brendan Fraser, and now it's The Phantom Menace, which for some reason I only remember seeing once in theaters, which is pretty crazy because I watched it multiple times when it came to DVD and all that stuff at the time. But yeah, loved it. It was also always a great experience to watch Star Wars in a theater. It always makes it a little bit better, in my opinion, a little less boring when it's all talking stuff, because you actually hear all the nuance and sounds, all the background stuff, and the music as well is always awesome from John Williams as well. But yeah, one of the greater Sith Lords or villains in Darth Maul. Always great to see him. And I think even George Lucas recently said that he feels really bad about killing him off so early, because he thought of how great of a character he was and how long that legacy has lasted as one of the favorite villains, bad guys that people like as far as fans. But they did bring him back in the cartoon version. I was a little bit too old for the cartoons and stuff, but they've been pretty good, I guess. So maybe at some point I'll go back and to watch and see how his story progressed and continued. But they did have a couple of like things to collect. There was this pretty cool like little thing, like a drink, and it had like a lot of cool like imaging and all this stuff around it. Pretty cool, nice 3D 60 wrapped, and yeah, it says 25-year anniversary. So a nice little collectible there to add behind me. Probably going to be on the other side of this video. You'll probably see in the next couple of videos. And I thought they also had a popcorn bucket, but when we asked, they said there was none. So false advertising, Regal. But yeah, either way, was able to get something for the moment, so that's pretty cool. Thanks for watching, people. Like and subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what y'all think. Have a great rest of your day.